Hello, fellow Minecrafters. Gearsaw Studios here. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a pond. Because it's the new year, you might as well build a nice comfy place, so that way you can ignore your job. However, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So, with that, onto the tutorial. For this build palette, we are going to be using moss, bamboo, flowering azalea trees, so they're going to be bone mealed, not the block, spruce wood, especially their trapdoor variant, cobblestone, and mossy cobblestone. Then find a nice flat area. Because it's a pond, it's going to need a little bit of room, but not too much. A stony shore might not seem like the best place, but I just reset my world partially, and it's a cool area for moss to grow. So, if we find a nice stony shore, the moss part is going to be quite a bit easier compared to such as a desert where moss cannot be bone mealed. So, what you want to do is grab your moss and place a block down. So, dig into the ground and then bone meal it. So, around the area you want it, if you bone meal it, it will start growing. And this allows you to build with moss incredibly quickly. So, bone meal your moss around so that way you have a nice moss area. Then, remove the vegetation from it. With the area removed of vegetation and properly mossified, we should start placing down flowering or normal azalea and bone mealing them to create their tree variant, because it's just an easy way to add trees to the build that aren't typical, very bland Minecraft trees like these. So, start by just growing a couple azaleas here and there, and it will provide some shade too, so that way it's not all super evenly lit. Be careful though, because you might be pushed down in creative mode, and that could cause you to bone meal something you don't want to. So, just bone meal some, and also place down some moss, not too close from it, but not too far. So, about that bamboo part, so we have the stone piece in the middle, and this is where we are going to have the actual pond. So, we should provide a little bit of a border. So, we should use a lot of mossy and occasionally some normal cobblestone. So, sporadically place some right like this, and you might have to move some of the bamboo you place down. And it's okay if it goes on your stone part, because remember, not all of it's going to say, and some of it might be turned into moss. So, once you've done that, place down some slabs around it, and make sure that it appears kind of rocky, because the last thing you want is some creeper just accidentally falling in. Instead, it will have to traverse a mess of slabs and such, which will make it a little bit harder for the creepers to get in. Now that we have our rocks in, it looks a lot better. And although the creepers might still get in, and honestly this doesn't provide much defense from them, so if this was your first idea to defend, it's probably not going to work. What you should do is start placing down your bamboo around. So, by placing the bamboo, you're just making it a bit cozier, so hopefully you can forget that you have work tomorrow, or you have school tomorrow, or whatever you have. So, it's just a nice serene build. Once you place down your bamboo to your liking, start digging out the area that you've designated in the middle for the pond. So, just start intensely clicking or mining out the area. And remember, don't make it all a singular level, because that's not how ponds work. Instead, make it go deeper the closer you are to the center. And at the very center, it should be deepest, with getting more shallow when you get closer to the edges. So, like this, and now we have a bit of a pond. So, obviously we could reduce how high it goes, so just do various things here and there to your liking. So, I've made this pond deeper, and we should add rocks because we can see these sides very clearly, and that's not very good texture to have on the sides. Another thing you can do if you're playing on 1.13 and above, and if you're not, what are you doing? Unless you're on 1.12 or 1.8, which I understand. You should start by placing down slabs and rocks and random things so that way it's more detailed. So, just do what you did on the outside, but make it extend a little bit into the pool. Now, with the rocks added, it's finally time to place down the seabed, because it seems like we should, of course, place the water, but we want to do everything before we place down the water, because once the water's in, you can't do much, because you have the slow mining speed and just a lot of other issues, such as drowning. So, replace the clay we replace the seabed with clay, because the thing is, clay is often found at the bottom of rivers or just in wet areas in general, so you might as well just make clay everywhere. So, once you have the clay in, then you can finally fill it up with water. Now, we have the water in, and it's finally a pond, but, of course, there's always still stuff we can add, such as bone mealing the place. And another thing is you should include a tiny little dock, because I included spruce trapdoors so that way we can have a little area that we can go on, so that way you can go to the center of the area. So now that you can stand here, it provides a little bit of personality to this place and just easier accessibility. So, of course, there's always things we can add. So just add little details such as lanterns, lily pads, and whatever you can think of. So, I've added the finishing details, the lily pads, the fish, the lanterns, and a campfire for good measure. So, I'd call this build done. It's just a nice cozy environment where we have some surrounding azalea trees, and this will integrate in any other landscaping build pretty well, as long as it's also tropical to just foresty. So, I highly recommend building this somewhere in your world. Due to people asking me to do this more often, I decided to show this off in shaders. So here you can have a nice view of Slider's shaders high version, in which we can just view this cute little pond in just a nice piece at midnight. So I highly recommend building this, and if you got shaders, even better. So try building this in your world, even if you don't think you're a good builder. So with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. So with that, take care. Gearsaw